focused on what's important. The ones that matter, they stay supporting, so I stay recording.
What's up YouTube, L2 here, WBFF Pro Fitness Model, and I just wanted to make this video purely because I plan to make YouTube a permanent fixture, and I really want to speak from the heart about this topic. If I'm going to make YouTube a permanent fixture, this has been kind of on my mind for a long time and kind of kept me off YouTube almost, because I really want you guys to know where this information is coming from, where my passion is coming from, why this topic is something I hold so dear to my heart as well. So I really felt like I needed to make this video. Bear with me because I've got a lot of points to cover, and being concise doesn't seem to be my strong point on these videos, but I'm gonna do my best. I've got a notepad here, so I'm gonna read off of that when I get stuck. So I guess what I'm going to title this video is quite ironic. I'm titling it "Why I Went Back to Natural," and obviously a lot of people will be like, "What are you talking about? Once you've gone there, you can't come back." And I don't make you wrong at all. I just kind of want to explain why I've been drug free for over 10 years, over 11 years, and why I feel like it's such a problem in the industry. And I want to kind of go through my story about how I was affected by what I'm about to talk about. So my whole issue here with this industry and ped use, I first of all want to say I'm not anti-peds, I'm not anti-steroids at all. I am pro-natural. I'm from this unique area where I don't really belong in any kind of category, because you know there's your naturals, there's your lifetime naturals, then there's you know, your ped users who don't really talk about it. I'm kind of floating in the middle here, which has always kind of been a strange thing for me to explain. I've always been very forthcoming, but a small story about me is, if you have watched some of my previous videos, you will know that I'm not a lifetime natural. I did use when I was 19, going into my 20s. I did the one cycle, and I realised that steroids weren't for me. I got all the side effects. I wasn't that happy with the gains I got. I guess part of it was slight arrogance. I felt like I could have done what I'd achieved naturally anyway, and kind of realised that I really put everything into my training while I was on a cycle, whereas when I was natural I didn't. So I didn't really have no delusion about that. I had delusion about it before, but not after. So basically, how I was almost duped into taking steroids is something that I'm seeing all the time today, posted on YouTube, you know, YouTube comments and all this illogical, irrational, nonsensical comments that I see on YouTube. And the way I got into it was, I was 16 years old, went to a wrestling school. My dream was to become a pro wrestler. My dream was, you know, to become the next Dwayne Johnson, even though he's 6'5", I'm 5'9", but hey, whatever. So that was my goal, and I went to wrestling school when I was 16 years old, skinny little guy, and these trainees overheard me talking. Like, I was like, yeah, I want to get as big as The Rock, I want to get as big as Triple H, and these guys were like, well, you know, prepare to take all the gear under the sun. I was like, for real? Aren't these guys natural? And I guess, yeah, I was showing a bit of naivety, and these guys were like, don't be stupid, of course they're not natural. And fair enough, I imagine they're probably right. But what really got to me as a young kid was that these guys telling me what they were on, and they looked like shit. Let's not make any bones, they looked very, very average considering they took steroids. And I thought, wow, I'm trying to look like Dwayne Johnson, Triple H, I'm trying to look much better than these cats. And these guys are on steroids. They're taking loads of shit. And they were like, well, you're gonna have to take steroids to get big, no matter what. You know, you're gonna have to take loads of shit. And I was just like, oh fuck. Now, this is what I see going on in this industry all the time now. It's 95% of recreational users imparting misinformation onto people. Now, their intentions were good, you know, and they weren't wrong, but they didn't tell me the full story. They didn't tell me that with years and years and years of hard work, it's achievable. Don't get me wrong, not to get to the levels of Dwayne Johnson, but they could have told me so many. They could tell me so many other factors instead of you have to take steroids. They could have given me all the options. They could have said, hey, you know what? If you train for 10 years, solid, consistent, your diet's on point, your training's progressive and evidence-based, then you can see some pretty sick results. But it's going to take a while, so you're going to have patience. If you don't have the patience, you know, you're going to have to go to the dark side and get quicker results. And also they could have told me that, you know, it depends on your genetics, how quickly you might gain, where you gain, things like that, but they didn't. And this is my problem with 95% of recreational PED users and steroid users. I actually call them abusers because they really have no reason or need to be on steroids. And I wanted to make this video because there's a 5% sort of, I throw this arbitrary number of percentages out there just to kind of give you a visual on how many people I feel are doing such a disservice to young kids and the industry by providing misinformation. There's 5% of PED users whom I really respect and whom I imagine if they are watching this will completely agree with what I'm saying and understand where I'm coming from. I want to make this video because I want to elaborate on points rather than make silly little posts on Facebook and Instagram where I can't put into context what I'm trying to say. And I don't want to offend the people I truly respect who are on PEDs and on steroids. Now, the people who do get offended, I imagine I don't particularly care that you do get offended because you probably need to be offended, and this is probably who this video is about. So, my beef is that 95% of people should not be on steroids. They're either not ready to be on steroids, they give out misinformation because they've gone on steroids way too soon. They haven't learned the basics of steroids before they've jumped on. They haven't learned, sorry, not the basics of steroids, they haven't learned the basics of training, they haven't learned the basics of getting results. You know, you'll be so surprised about how many people in my gym, I can ask them, you know, PED users, I can ask them, so how many calories are you taking in, bro? Oh, I don't know about anything like that. I'm just, you know, I don't do that macro diet. I just, you know, I just eat clean, you know what I mean? Like when I'm on, I just eat clean. Like, when you say something so uneducated like that, I know you're not ready to be on steroids because you haven't even mastered the basics. If you aren't aware that eating for your goals requires, you know, being in the correct calorie deficit or surplus and consistently hitting those calories and consistently getting those macronutrients in on a regular basis, being dedicated, then you are not ready to be on steroids. You are a recreational steroid abuser, and that's the truth. And these are the same people who will come to me and give me these funny eyes like, you've got big quick. Big quick. In 2 years I've put on 6 pounds and you want to talk about how I've got big quick. Why do you come here to train? Like, I come here to train to see results. I'm dedicated. I always say to people the worst thing that could happen to me is spinning my wheels for 2 years or for a year and not seeing anything. But there's so many people in the gyms who do that and then feel like, oh yeah, it's an impossible endeavor, so you have to go on steroids to do it. And then it's a vicious cycle. That 95% imparts the same information onto the next person and the next person, and then all these skinny little kids are running around trying to tell people that you can't get big without steroids, and it is the biggest problem I see in the industry today. At the same time, you've got people who, potentially have got big on steroids. You know, what I've found it does is it just makes that 95% of recreational users delusional. They've made the gains, fair enough, but they don't have the logic or the rationale to say, okay, yeah, I've worked hard, but it's the steroids that have played a big part in my gains. And you know, I'm not saying they do everything for you, but when you're at that low level, the 95% of the people the recreational users you see in the gym are, when you're at that low level, they play a big part, and you know, don't make any bones about that. Don't let anyone bullshit you into thinking otherwise. Now, if that 95% has accepted that, you know, I'm just using steroids for aesthetics and that's it, you know, I'm gonna keep myself to myself and just do me. That's not a problem. You know, it's none of my business who chooses to use, who chooses to stay natural. You know, that's none of my business, and nor do I care. More power to you. It becomes a problem, and has become a problem in this industry, when that 95% who haven't educated themselves, who have gone on steroids too early, who haven't learned to be logical, who haven't learned to critical think, when these people start trying to sell programs, when these people start trying to tell people what's right, and when they don't have the wherewithal to realise that what they've achieved isn't the same as, you know, it's not the same information you can give to a natural athlete to achieve, that's where the problem lies. And the problem appears when the 95% get on social media, build a huge following, and then start trying to sell programs, start trying to make money out of people when they haven't even got any of the knowledge that they needed to get. When, you know, you can only get that knowledge from going through the journey. And a lot of people, for some strange reason, are scared of the journey. They don't want to go through the journey. And the journey is the best fucking part of training. It is the best part. It's, you know, your pursuit for aesthetics is so or whatever your goal is so pointless if you don't go through the journey. And a lot of people, that 95%, don't care for the journey. They just want the end product. They just want the aesthetics. They just want the fame, the Insta fame. They just want the social media following. Now, there's a brilliant quote that my coach Eric Helms told me, which was when I interviewed him for my website, which was, there's a reason that people don't get the helicopter to the top of Mount Everest. There's a reason that people don't get a car or drive all the way to the finish line in a marathon, because what would be the point of that? And he said, I do wonder sometimes what people would do if they had their goal just handed to them on a plate. And I totally agree with that. You're missing out on the best part. And this 95% have missed out on the best part, the educating yourself, the constant learning how to break through your plateaus, you know, the beauty of just going from strength to strength to strength. And again, this 5% that I'm talking about, whom I really respect, who are high level, I consider them high level. And just because you compete, by the way, does not mean you're high level. You know, it's a variety of things. High level means you built a foundation, you educated yourself, and you decided to take it to the next level. You know, these 5%, I would be quite happy training my clients, my drug-free clients, because they have the logic, they have the rationale, they have the critical thinking and the education. Now look, if you are part of that 95% who use recreationally, I have no issue with you. It's none of my business what you use and why you use it, because I'm pro-choice. You know, you can use whatever you want. What I am not pro is pro-bullshit. Now, when the recreational user gets on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and builds a massive following and then starts selling stuff, obviously they're not going to tell you their steroid use or their PED cycle. And that, to me, I understand why, because of legal implications, because of social implications. The media has demonized steroids and PEDs enough, I'm not here to do that, but at the same time, what I'm getting from this 95% is the other extreme. They're making the side effects of steroids a joke. They're acting like they don't exist, and the media has just blown it all out of proportion, which they have. However, it is not a fucking joke. Steroids side effects are no joke, and you're an idiot if you go into steroids with that mentality. Let me tell you, I'm the kind of guy who does not listen to the gym meathead. I don't take anybody's word for anything. I want to research myself and take the evidence-based approach. And I've always been like that. So when I first heard about steroids when I was 16 and thought I might do them in the future to get to where I wanted to be in terms of being a pro wrestler, I researched for 3 solid years and got all the evidence-based, the intelligent users' kind of opinions, doctors' studies, and all things like that. I researched for 3 years on the best protocols before I decided to use. And even then, even when I researched everything, I still got every side effect under the sun. On my exterior, interior, probably who knows what happened. But let me tell you, it's no joke. And I will talk more about the side effects that I experienced because I want to give that a lot more time and a lot more detail. Now, this is the problem. When that 95% starts throwing information out at the mass public and starts trying to sell things without exposing their use, and I don't blame them for not exposing their use, but don't sell people stuff if you're not going to tell them everything. If you're not, alright, tell them what supplements to take, but you're not telling them everything you used. And I think that is such a big problem in this industry. Perfect example was a few weeks ago or a few months ago, a massive fitness model, he's one of the most popular ones, got caught taking a very famous strength coach's program, word for word verbatim, and he sold it to his followers. Sold that shit to his followers. Where the fuck has the integrity gone? Where's the integrity gone in this industry? He apologised, but you're only sorry because you got caught. He said it was a bad judgment call. Yeah, it was a fucking bad judgment call. You built up your following. Fair enough, he looks good. He probably would look good without the steroids, but the steroids have pushed him to the next level where he looks exceptional. Fair play, you worked hard. But then you're selling stuff to people, natural guys as well, who look up to you. And not only are you selling them that information, it's not even your information. So, there's a massive shift in this industry towards making money, and I don't hate on nobody for making money, but where the fuck has the integrity gone? Don't lose who you are, man. Keep your integrity, because you can't, once you've been associated with selling yourself short, selling other people short, it's very hard to now don't get me wrong, I'm not an idealist in this industry, but there has to be some kind of transparency and a little bit of logic and a little bit of common sense before you start selling this stuff to people. The 5% of people that I'm talking about, whom I respect, I actually have no problem with them selling their programs, because I trust their knowledge, I trust their information. They're not like the 95% who have deluded themselves into thinking that they know what they're doing because they've made gains using PEDs. The 5% have the passion for it, they have the education, they've continued year after year after year to train, they've got the dedication. I always say this, and this is a great way that you'll be able to differentiate what I mean by the 95% to the 5%. I have this quote where I say, if steroids were to disappear off of the face of this earth tomorrow, you would see very quickly who knew what they were doing and who was just doing this purely for the aesthetics, for the fame, and not for the love and the passion and the just the love of overcoming obstacles. Trust me, a lot of people, a lot of your favourite social media icons would fall by the wayside because they only loved the Insta fame, they only loved the making money, the money they made from the physique they built. But those 5% high level people that I'm talking about, they would remain high level. You know why? Because they love to train, they love to overcome obstacles, and the others would fall off. Trust me, 95% of recreational users, if steroids didn't exist, do you know what happened to their gains? Poof. Just like that, I promise you. Because they don't like the idea of training for 10 years and only gaining 10 to 20 pounds of lean muscle mass. They can't rationalise that in their head. So believe you me, it will be quite obvious. It's very hard to differentiate who that 95% and that 5% is to the beginner. And that's why this holds a very special place in my heart, because I was that kid who couldn't discern who was legit and who was a bullshitter. And I listened to that 95% crew, and I almost became part of that 95% crew. I would tell them the same, I'll pass on that same information to people about, look, you can't get that big without steroids, you can't get this, without asking any logical questions. Let me give you a perfect example right now of something that really pissed me off on social media lately. And it was Matt Ogus, who is a legit cat, who is a natural bodybuilder, and he is natty, and a lot of people will shit on Matt Ogus's achievements because he looks so good. And he posted something on Facebook lately which was a before and after of however many years his transformation was. I think it was probably 8 years, or however long he's been training. I know that he's been training consistently for a long time. And it was before and after. And without any context, without any kind of logical thinking, the top comments on that picture, which was quite inspirational, were, I'll post it now actually, because it really pissed me off. It was people going, oh, eat clean, train hard, or look at that arrogant commenter who is absolutely dead sure, and he's almost angry about how unnatural Matt Ogus is, and how people don't know the truth. And that comment is so fucking arrogant and so cocksure that it actually it's going to make somebody who doesn't know any better read that and see how many likes that comment has as well. Look at how many it's got, 60, 70, 80, probably more by now. Look how many likes it's got. That gives it social proof as well. So you're going to have loads of people going, oh, hold on, so this guy's lying. It's not possible to get that big naturally. And this fucking idiot hasn't asked any of the questions that are relevant. I'm sorry to swear, but this is how angry this shit makes me. And he hasn't asked any of the relevant questions. How long has Matt Ogus been training? What are his genetics like? How long has he been dieting consistently? And how long has his diet been on point? Now I know for a fact Matt Ogus learned the basics from the very beginning. And he's been consistent from the very beginning. I don't remember him having much time off from training. And you go back to all of his videos and look how much he's progressed, and look how progressive his strength has been. It's been slowly progressive, and it's got to a level where it's really impressive. If after 10 years of natural training, you haven't got the strength that Matt Ogus has and the size that Matt Ogus has, something's fucking wrong, and you should really ask yourself what you've been doing in the gym. And be honest with yourself. Have you been consistently hitting your macros? Have you been consistently in a calorie surplus? Have you been consistently progressing in your training? Or have you just been going to the gym, half-assing it haphazardly, not measuring your progress, not measuring your calorie intake or your macro intake, not working on your mobility, which Matt Ogus has done. Again, he's been on top of his mobility and his stretching. So you know, he's at that level where if you ask the right questions, you can see that it is possible to be his size naturally. So all I want you to get from this video is that I'm not anti-steroids, I'm not anti-peds, I am pro-natural, and I believe that everybody should at least spend at least 3 to 4 to 5, maybe more years as a natural athlete and just learn the basics, the fundamentals, learn that it takes consistency, learn that it takes passion, learn that it takes nutrition, you know, at a high level. It takes training, progressive training. Learn these things, learn the basics. Don't just jump on gear before you're ready. Don't be that 95%. There's I was a skinny guy at the gym, again another story, skinny guy at the gym who keeps saying to me, oh, I just want to jump on gear, man, I just want to jump on gear. I'm like, what's your diet like? How many calories you take? Oh, I don't know, I don't think I'm eating enough. Sort that out first, and then you'll get steroid-like gains, I promise you. Oh yeah, it's just fucking hard though, isn't it? Oh, I work, I do this. You know, and he's a very nice guy. I don't want this to come across as me insulting him, because it's not. He's a very nice guy, and his intentions are good. And he's like, oh, like, what are you eating? I'm like, well, I'm cutting at the moment. Here's my cutting diet. I've lost 12 pounds on this diet so far. Gave him my phone, had a look at MyFitnessPal, and he's like, fuck. He's like, shit, you're eating that much to cut, to burn fat. He's like, oh man, I'm not even eating this much to bulk. Enough said. If you aren't eating enough to bulk naturally, what do you think is going to happen when you take gear? I'll tell you what's going to happen. You're going to see gains, because it's going to fix that. It's going to bridge the gap between your mistakes, and that's the thing that the recreational user won't acknowledge. They're only using it. They're only getting gains because it's bridging the gap between their mistakes. All right. I'm pro-choice. Do what you want to do. It's totally up to you. Just stop imparting misinformation onto people who don't need it, who don't know any better. Okay, be logical, have critical thinking skills, and if you're young, please don't listen to the bullshit. Please don't listen to the annoying YouTube comments that say that everyone who has built any kind of muscle is a steroid user, because that's bullshit. All right, I found my calling. My calling is to educate people, is to stop people from going on steroids too early, before they need to. And most people don't need to. I promise you, if I could project to you what you would look like in 10 years' time, if everything was spot on, everything was on point, your diet was on point, your training was on point, for 10 years consistently, I guarantee you, you would be hella excited about the journey. I promise you, you would be like, wow, you know what, this can be done, let's do it, let's do it. But hey, again, do what you've got to do. There's that 5% who are great, who I respect greatly, high level, the Ronnie Colemans, the Arnold Schwarzeneggers, even on the lower level of mass, who have just decided they want to do that, who have educated themselves, who are logical about their use. No problem at all. It's the people who are making this industry a fucking shitty place who I have the problem with, the 95%. Do what you've got to do. Don't give advice where it's not warranted and where you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Thanks for listening. Peace out.
Thank you so much for sitting through my video. I really appreciate that it was a long video, and I hope you can see why this topic holds a special place in my heart. What I want to know from you guys is, how do we find a solution to this issue? How do we educate people to let them know that there is another choice, if they're just beginning in fitness, that there is another choice, and what is achievable naturally, and talking about all the different factors that go into what you can achieve naturally so that they can make an educated choice. Just pop that in the comments section below, because I really want to find a solution, and any questions you have, pop them in the comment section. Please like on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, and subscribe to this channel as I'm going through my 2015 contest prep.